Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. We're on season 8, episode 12, entitled Pull the Trigger. And so we pick back up with Andy in the parking garage. She's at work. She's there to take her stake in what she's owned. Reclaim her throne, essentially, let's just say that. And she's running from whoever appears to be following her, and then that person starts to gain in on her. They're closing in the gap, and then she decides, okay, I'm gonna put some action into play here. And she decides to pepper spray him, and she punches him and gives him a little 1-2 to the groin, kind of like how Fatima taught her. Like, she made me proud in that little millisecond. So but it turns out that she doesn't know the person. The person is Mr. Bird. Mr. Bird is one of the investigators that the law firm uses to keep track of people, for their legal cases and different things. And it turns out that Robin put Mr. Bird on her trail in order to, quote unquote, keep an eye on her. Mr. Bird he can't even see, and he's hurting from, everything that she did to him. And he really didn't even know why Robin wanted him to follow her, because Andy's like, hey, why did he tell you to follow me? And he's like, I have no idea. Like, I don't really give any pushback when it's a acting partner at the firm. I just do what's asked of me. So he has no idea. He's just doing what the hell Robin asked him to do. And then Robin conveniently rose up at that second, telling him like, hey, you were supposed to stay hidden. And Andy's looking like, am I not standing here? Like, what are you talking about? And then Robin claims that he was concerned about Andy's safety, which is why he put the lead investigator on her trail. And rightfully so, she is mad. And she tells him, like, listen, you're just like Gary. Like, you want to be in control of me, and it's not working no more. This is done. You trying to control me, just as much as Gary has been doing in the past. And so I don't need your protection. And not only that, I don't need you as my attorney. And so she fires him. And he tells her that she's making a huge mistake and that she's going to regret that. So I'm sure those words are going to come back to haunt us, but that is what comes of that incident. Fatima calls Andy to tell her that Karen has gone into labor, or what they believe is labor for her, and now she has to leave before even being able to go into the office to check on her spot. She needs to leave immediately to go check on Karen, so her going into the office has to be postponed until a later date. Okay. So we're going to jump back over to Danny, and she's still struggling with what she believes to be a heart attack. And Lucretia's the person that she called to come over, and she's over there and she's trying to talk Danny down, trying to get her to stay calm. And she has called an ambulance on the way there. They're, minutes behind her, but we're going to check her pulse. And Danny's heart rate is really, really, really high, and her chest is hurting, and her mind is racing, and her heart is racing. So we're trying to get her to do this until the ambulance can get there. And Lucretia's trying to distract her from the pain by asking her, like, tell me a little bit more about how you ended up in this situation. And so she tells her about the fallout with Tony over dinner, and how she still feels like he's trying to be in control of her, and everything that's, her and Tony are currently going through. And we'll get back to that. So somehow we rewind time a little bit, and we kind of see how Karen and Fatima are ganging up on Zach, talking about how he was doing too much, asking that girl to, part herself, that woman to hurry up and part herself away from her newborn so he could jump in and be super dad. And so they're kind of teaming up, so to speak, against Zach. And then Fatima also reminds Karen, like, hey, let's also keep in mind that he's the father of at least one of those babies, and he also has an opinion that counts. Yes, he gets a little bit energetic and excitable and encourageable, but we need to also consider the fact, like, he has a say-so. So we all need to kind of figure out how to do this co-parenting thing a little bit more effectively and efficiently, and we could, walk away from there. And then she also reminds Karen, like, hey, I understand that Zach can be worrisome and he can be annoying, in some instances or whatever, but what you also can't do is pop up at the house anytime that Zach makes you mad. Like, we got to come up again with a co-parenting system. And of course, Karen starts to get offended and talking out the side of her neck and, doing all that theatrics and dramatics. And then Zach is like, y'all need to calm down. Like, all the stress ain't good for neither one of you guys' pregnancies. So now he's let it slip out that Fatima is also with child. If you're watching the Zatima series, also on BET Plus, whatever your streaming service is, we see where things are kind of catching up, and, we kind of see the cross-contamination between the shows. And Fatima is, in fact, knocked up on the other show as well. And so we've kind of caught up here on both of the different franchises. And it was all too much. Now we have the confirmation that Fatima is with child, and Karen, it's all too much for Karen, and she think her water broke, and she thinks she's going into labor. And so now we have to deal with that emergency that's coming up. The paramedics finally show up to see about Danny, see what she has going on, and her blood pressure is slightly elevated, but again, nothing to write home about, nothing to whisk her off to the emergency room about. But she thinks that, this is the big one, Elizabeth. Like, it's time to check in, at the great waiting room in the sky, right? So they pull Lucretia aside and they tell Lucretia the rest of her vitals are really good, and, nothing really aligns itself with like a stroke or a heart attack or anything to that effect. And what it appears is that these are symptoms of a panic disorder, panic attack, whatever your word of choice is. And so Danny is trying to write her will right there on the spot because she still thinks this is her last day. But they're sure, like, listen, ma'am, you're not going to expire anytime soon. They finally let her know that she's having a panic attack, the EMTs, and she's embarrassed because she stirred up all this attention just for a little old panic attack. And then she tells Lucretia, like, hey, you can call Sabrina so that you can go back to your date and, we can move on. And what I really wanted to add here is that I, for one, do not think that a panic attack should be minimized. As somebody that used to have chronic panic attacks, you do feel like you are having a heart attack. Your chest is tight. You can't get a full breath in, a full inhale. It's a lot. Sometimes your head be spinning for however long you're in said attack. It feels like you have having a heart attack, and it feels like you're about to die. Like the first couple that I had, I went to the emergency room and I was like, hey, hook me up to the EKG machine because I think I'm about to check out. Everything was fine, and it was just a stress-induced panic attack. Could be induced by a myriad of things, but nothing small. I wouldn't consider a panic attack to be small. But I know how she feels in the effect, like, I think I'm going to check up out of here. But you got to figure out how to manage that thing, girl. Moving right along. Okay. Hayden he's 2 seconds from smothering Gary when Gary opens his eyes and wakes up. And he plays it off like he's been fluffing his pillow. And then Hayden goes to ask Gary about him and about Tamara, but his amnesia's kicking in, and he's like, who? Tamara who? He's like, matter of fact, who are you? Like, he don't have any idea who any of these people are. And of course Hudson walked in and he's like, well, what are you doing here? And he's trying to get Hayden out of there as quickly as possible. And Hayden wants to know, like, how much or how little Gary does remember. Now, of course, that should lead you to believe that Hayden has something to do, with the potential, the stabbing of Gary. But I don't believe it. My money's still on Robin, but I guess he wants to see how much or how little he remembers about Tamara and what he can confront him about, but we'll deal with that later. We see Karen at the doctor's office, and of course it's just stress-induced Braxton Hicks. I think it's Braxton Hicks. So, when they wheel her, they got in a wheelchair and they're about to discharge her because there's no real issue, but he does warn her, like, hey, you need to keep your stress levels low. You're high risk, that type of thing. We need to keep that low. And Zach appears to feel a way that she's being rolled out, and the doctor shows him, like, hey, it's all right. It's just a little false, labor symptom. It's okay. And Zach called Aaron earlier just to let him know that they thought she was in labor. So he's finally showed up at the hospital. And then he hears the doctor tell her not to be arguing with her baby daddy, which we're going to presume, is Zach. And so Aaron is getting upset. Like, why would you stress her out? She's with child, blah, 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 blah. And these two are going off at each other's throat, in the hospital. And then now they're at odds again. And this little truce that they once had for about 2 episodes is now kaputs. And we got to deal with these attitudes yet again. Okay, Sabrina and Rich show up to be of support to Danny, and while Sabrina was talking to Lucretia on the phone, we see that Rich called Tony on the side and was like, hey, something wrong with your girl. We're going to meet you over there. Come on through. Then Tony comes basically falling down through the door to see what's happening, with Danny, because Tony did call him earlier, like I said. And Danny tells Tony, like, hey, it probably happened because of you. Like, he's the problem. He's making her upset. And then she looked at him like, why are you still here? Like, go ahead and head out. Like, even in the midst of thinking she's about to check off with her, she's like, nah, you need to go ahead and head out. And Sabrina's like, listen, I know you want to talk to her. I know you're concerned. We got it under control. You know, we'll back brief you at a later date. Just leave her alone for now and just go. So Tony now has to leave. I'm not sure that I would give Tony 100%, you know, ownership in what's happening here. I give him about a 60-40 ratio, but whatever. Here we are. All right. Everybody, we're rounding up the episode, and everybody is simultaneously finding out that Penelope has been charged with the attempted murder of Gary. Everybody's kind of seeing it, you know, and we're in their respective locations and kind of seeing that is happening. I'm sure we'll see next week, you know, how that pans out and what that looks like for everybody's alibis and what that looks like for the case and everything that's happening. I'd be interested in seeing how soon Annie can get back into the flow of things at work, and if her partnership is still going to be on the table, even though it was taken away administratively for whatever's happening. Is the case really closed? Is Penelope going to go down for this, or are we really going to get the true criminal here, which is Robin, in my opinion? Either way, that has been my review for Sister Season 8, Episode 12. Let me know what y'all think about the episode in the comments. We'll talk about it there. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.